right, so welcome to another episode of Dark Dialogue Shadow Chat Sessions. I'm your host, John.
And I'm his co-host, Angela.
And this is the show where we just get to be goofy buffoons and talk about strange shit and have a good time and whatever. So if you're ready, Angela, let's go ahead and jump into this.
This is one of my favorite parts of the day.
Yeah, I love this. I love recording these. They're just so much fun, and I don't really have to put in a ton of research work and editing work. It's just, they're just they're a lot of fun. So
I am ready. Giddy up, Buttercup.
All right, here we go. So in our news section, the one that we're going to kick off with is She Will Never Walk Again. Man jailed after shooting wife and dumping her at hospital.
Oh, he's a winner.
Yeah. So in a grim tale out of South Africa, a man shot his wife and left her paralyzed before unceremoniously dumping her in a hospital like yesterday's leftovers. He's now behind bars and she's facing a lifetime of recovery. So what started as yet another night in a tragically dysfunctional marriage ended with a bullet, a hospital driveway, and a broken spine. Despite support for the victim and overwhelming evidence, the case still underscores domestic violence brutality and society's lagging ability to spot the signs before tragedy strikes. And my take is yes, true love means never having to say you're sorry, just shoot and run. In the great romance novel of life, this dipshit skipped the honeymoon and went straight to the part where you turn into a true crime documentary. Honestly, even villains in soap operas are shaking their heads like, dude, subtlety?
He's keeping us in business.
Yeah. So, what the hell is wrong with this dipshit and all of those that do this kind of shit?
They weren't ever hugged enough as a child.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's
what makes an animal like this.
Don't know either, but
I mean, the whole domestic violence thing is just, I don't know. I mean, he's not a little dude.
No.
You know, and I mean, this ugly piece of shit is pretty lucky to have a pretty beautiful wife. Mm-hmm. What she ever saw in him, I'll never know.
Right?
But I just don't understand it.
Just doesn't have.
And I've never been able to put those two and two together. Like, yeah, divorce sucks, and like breaking up with somebody you love or whatever sucks. But you'd rather shoot them? I can't, like, if I really love somebody, and yeah, sure, I want to be in a relationship with them or whatever, but if they don't want to be in a relationship with me, I really love them. I want them to live a happy rest of their life, even if I'm not part of it.
Right.
This idea of, like, killing them?
Right.
Where does that shit even come from?
Uh-huh.
So, what part of For Better or Worse covers attempted murder?
Oh, that's an incredibly excellent question.
Yeah. I think it would definitely be the worst part.
I'm pretty sure that's not what the first Val writer was implying.
Thinking about?
Yeah, probably not. Although now we'll go research him and he'll have killed his wife too, and
right, yeah, probably.
So I don't know.
So at what point do we stop calling these people husbands and start calling them human landmines? Because I don't know anything about their relationship, but I would be willing to bet there was domestic violence on a daily freaking basis, you know?
Yeah.
And that shit always ends. I mean, not that living in a violent relationship isn't bad enough, but it always ends badly, you know?
I am going to edit your question a little bit and say spouses, because women can be just as insane.
This is very true. Yeah.
And I will say that for you as the woman, so our women audiences don't come after you.
Well, I mean, the fact of it is there are battered men.
Yes, there are.
And
definitely.
A lot of the men that put up with that kind of shit come from the same school of thought as I do, which is you never lay your hand on a woman, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And so they don't defend themselves in a situation like that. They just let their wife beat the piss out of them. And while I do not agree with hitting a woman, period, I will say that if you punch me, I'm knocking your freaking teeth out. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. If you want to step into a man's place and start swinging fists at me, be prepared because I'm going to knock your ass out.
My mom taught me something that she said when she got married. And I kind of hold true with it. If you hit me and I can't beat you while you're awake, don't you dare go to sleep.
Yes. Well, it's like... I don't know. You probably never heard the J.D. Vance. You haven't read his biography or anything, or vice president. Well, his grandma, Mama. She was a tough woman, man. I'll tell you what. She told her husband, she said, if you keep coming home drunk and beating on me, I'm going to kill you. And he did it again, and she waited for him to go to sleep, and then she poured gas or lighter fluid on him and lit his ass on fire. Did he die? But
he got the point.
Well, at that point they ceased to be man and wife.
Well, yes.
And he moved out, but they stayed really close friends and helped each other and basically lived like man and wife in separate homes until he died.
Wow.
Right. It was very interesting. And Mama, you didn't mess with Mama.
I didn't mess with Mama.
No, she was tougher than boot nails, man. She passed.
She died, blast.
Yeah. Yep. And when she died, they found I want to say 14 loaded handguns hidden all over her house. So no matter where she was, she was just a tough old woman that grew up in the Kentucky hills, and man, you didn't mess with her.
I'm missing both sets of mine, and I'm taking applications for new ones, and I would have sent one directly to her.
Yeah, she was cool. She's directly responsible for how he turned out. I mean, really. So our next story, an Argentine Olympic coach arrested for alleged abuse. An Argentine Olympic sailing coach has been arrested on charges of sexually abusing an athlete that he once trained. The survivor came forward years later, prompting police action amid a growing wave of justice for victims in sports. The world of elite sports continues to see a reckoning. This piece of shit, previously revered, now faces criminal charges after years of silence from his victim. It's another grim reminder of the abuse of power in high-performance environments and how long it often takes for survivors to be believed. So my take: who needs a gold medal when you've already won the manipulating piece of shit Olympics? Honestly, this guy was more into mental gymnastics than the athletes that he trained. Maybe there's a podium for most creative abuse of power. If so, we've got our gold medalist right here. So, what kind of Olympic sport is grooming and gaslighting?
All of them, sadly.
This shit happens way too often.
Every single sport, there's something happening.
And I think a lot of it just comes down to access. And as sad as it is, I mean, I don't know what they need to do to prevent this kind of horse shit. But as a parent, I would have a really hard time allowing my kids. But then as a parent, you're also squashing their dreams of being Olympians.
It's a double-edged sword.
It's a really hard thing to navigate. If you have a child that is really talented in a particular sport and could compete at the Olympic level, you have to make a decision of, I guess you would just have to say, I've got to be there all the time. I don't know. I don't know what else you do.
Or really candid, tough conversations with the child. You will absolutely not get in trouble. They will absolutely not kill your family. You need to talk.
Yeah.
and just empower that child with every ammunition possible.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer
And that's
is.
I'm not saying it's the answer, but it's like the only thing I can think of.
I know. It's hard. So why does it always take decades for institutions to start listening to survivors? Do they run on dial-up?
Yes, probably. Because they don't want to. Because it'll ruin their standings in whatever field and sport that they're in. They don't want to ruin their reputation. They don't want people to not want to join the company. They don't want...
Well, I think that you're really definitely onto something. You know, I mean, if you have a coach that is coaching Olympians, then he's taking kids and turning them into Olympic competitors. And it's like the whole, what is that piece of shit? Joe Paterno? I'm not a great...
Mary Jo Letourneau? She was the teacher.
No. I'm talking about the dipshit piece of shit pile of shit from Penn State.
That's a lot of shit.
Joe Panera.
Google it. I don't know.
Anyway, he was the football coach at Penn State, and Penn State had a huge football program, and he was like one of the most, and he didn't do it, okay? He is not the one that abused kids, but it seems almost certain that he knew this other asshat, and I can't think of his worthless name, but he was abusing boys, and because the football program had so much power at Penn State, it was just swept under the rug for years and years and years. Now the piece of shit's in prison, or maybe he's dead. I don't know. I don't follow sports, so I don't know these things, but I remember it all when it happened.
Yeah.
And
they're afraid potential talent won't come to their school or their program.
Right. Or you have a program like Penn State football, which, I mean, they are really good. And especially during those years, they were like a powerhouse. And when you have a powerhouse team being led by a coach in a lot of these places, it's like Varsity Blues. It's very similar in real life, that these coaches could get away with freaking murder, literally, because nobody wants to interrupt the football program.
Yeah.
And this piece of shit here that was molesting all of those gymnasts. He was an Olympic coach that was molesting all of those gymnasts.
Why can't I remember his name?
I don't remember it either. But another exact same pile of shit. He did it for years and years and years and years. And I think that they obviously have talent to coach at that level. And because they're talented coaches, a lot of the shit that they do just gets swept under the rug.
Yep.
So should coaching certifications include a basic morality test, or is that just wishful thinking?
Both. I think it should. And it should reoccur. Anyone who works with susceptible children should have things in place, just like annual CPR training is. You should just annually be checked to make sure.
Yeah.
Like talking, like, does this make sense?
It does. I'm following you. I don't know that it's necessary that it needs to reoccur, because
every few years it probably should.
Maybe, but you know, like to enter law enforcement, for instance, you have to go through a pretty intensive psychological evaluation, and they've become pretty good at recognizing. And all of them aren't the same, obviously.
Right.
But, you know, to like join the CIA or to join the FBI or whatever, they go through some pretty rigorous psychological testing, which identifies people that are predisposed to this kind of horse shit. And I think implementing that in before like teacher certification, before coaching certifications, and I'm not saying that you got to go through the same stuff as a CIA agent.
Shouldn't be quite that hard, but you are working with our children.
Right.
More so than the parents are.
I don't believe that in order to become a cop, you should go through more stringent, just because you have a gun. These assholes don't need a gun.
Yeah.
They have power.
Yeah.
And that is a lot of the time more powerful than a gun, especially when you're dealing with children.
Yeah. They can call scouts. They can ruin my career. They can further my career. Yeah.
Yeah, or they just catch these kids when they're young enough and they groom them to not say anything.
Yeah.
And I got to believe that there are psychological tests out there that will recognize potential pedophiles and disqualify you from those positions, period.
And occasionally they should possibly check in with the children. Like, hey, how's it going? Anything you need to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that kind of stuff, should be occurring, but at the parental level, for sure.
Well, I know. I'm not saying that random strangers should wander in and just ask random questions, but
I mean, we're in a place in our society where we have to have tough conversations with kids that are too young to have the conversations that we need to have with them, but we have to have them. It's sad. It's just sad. Okay, so this one broke my heart. Hearts, stolen instruments. I mean, it made me happy that they were found. It made me sad that they were stolen. And that is, hearts, stolen instruments have been found. The suspect has been arrested. So, classic rock legends Heart had several irreplaceable instruments stolen from a rental truck earlier this year. Authorities tracked the items down and arrested a suspect, likely foiling the world's most pathetic garage band. When priceless pieces of rock history vanished, fans and the band were devastated. Fortunately, the instruments, extensions of our musical souls, according to Heart, were recovered intact, reminding us that even thieves have no idea what they're actually stealing. My take? Turns out you can't just play Barracuda and summon musical credibility. Imagine stealing the sacred relics of rock and roll and trying to pawn them off like you just found a busted Stratocaster at a flea market. This guy wasn't just stealing instruments, he was committing blasphemy with the side of clueless.
Ooh, Barracuda.
So, did the thief think playing Barracuda would summon a portal in 1976?
You know what? Who knows? He's a magic man. I don't know.
Right. So, is it still considered grand larceny if... Yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty damn impressive.
Mic drop, I'm done. I'm out.
So, is it still considered grand larceny, even if your only fence is Craigslist?
Yeah, because how much are they worth? A lot.
They're going to be worth a lot.
Yeah.
I can almost guarantee that.
Grand larceny's over what now? 1,500?
It all depends on the state.
Oh, that's true. But you can pretty much guarantee that anything that has come from that band is grand larceny in all 50 states.
Oh, I think 100%. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So were they planning to pawn rock history for gas money and Hot Pockets?
Probably.
I mean, it's so ludicrous. I have to wonder if they even knew what they took, because... How are you going to...
How were they found with it? Did it say? Did I miss that because I was laughing?
All it said was the cops found them.
Okay.
So I have no idea like how they found them, or I have no idea. But I mean, I almost have a hard time believing that they knew what they had taken, because how are you going to move that? I mean, okay, maybe in like 50, 60 years, you would be able to.
Yeah. All right, so this is our retirement fund. We're going to hold on to it. Yeah, no.
Come up with some story how you got it without stealing it.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't either. But that brings us to our next segment.
Dipshit's Diary? Yes!
Would be the one.
Bring it.
Desperate Kansas man arrested for stealing 800-pound cannon from Spanish-American War to settle a drug debt. So in what sounds like a side quest in Red Dead Redemption, a Kansas man allegedly stole a historic 800-pound Spanish-American war cannon in a desperate bid to pay off drug debts. The cannon was recovered, and so was our collective faith in dumb criminals. So, desperate times call for desperate and dumb measures. When the going got tough, this guy turned to a 19th century weapon. He managed to drag the massive relic from a local park, but his grand plan to trade it for drug money came to a screeching and probably wheezing halt. My take? If your plan involves antique artillery and drug dealers, you might not be a criminal mastermind. You're just high with ambition. Picture the conversation. Yo, man, you got that cannon? And somewhere a Civil War reenactor just shed a single tear. This isn't Breaking Bad. It's Breaking Bronze Age.
I hope we got a hernia.
So, was this dipshit planning to roll it into the dealer's house like a Trojan horse? I mean, look what I got for you, bro.
Yeah.
Hook me up.
Slide right in.
I
think, I don't know.
I'm lost. I'm more lost he'd have been better off stealing Hart's instruments.
Right?
In an 800.
Do they know each other?
They must. Yeah. So if your plan involves dragging literal artillery across town, is it time for rehab?
Yes. Yes. However, I do wonder, was he dragging it by hand, by car?
From what I understand, it had to have been by car. It was 800 pounds.
Well, I know, but
so
do we throw it on? He looks like a type of dude try to throw it on a skateboard and go on his merry way.
Yeah, but he might try it, but it's 800 pounds.
Somebody helped him get it into that car. Where is this person?
Absolutely. No, dude.
Where is this person?
No meth head walked up there and just grabbed, 800 pounds. It just didn't happen.
That sadly would be a commercial for meth, and I don't want it to be.
What, don't do it?
No, guess what? If you're on meth, you can lift 800 pounds by yourself. It's not good at all.
Yeah, you can't.
I know.
So, can we get Netflix? Can we get a Netflix series on this guy called Breaking Dumb?
Yes. Yes.
So I think
you gotta get Jesse back.
I think he is definitely in contention
for the top in 25.
Yeah,
he beats out that chick.
I don't know, but he's on the list for sure.
All right, you got a spreadsheet built for that?
I need to get one built because we can't lose track.
Damn it! I just gave you something else to do.
Yep. All right, so our next dipshit diaries is porch pirate suspect attends court in the same outfit worn during the crime.
If you all missed that noise into my mic, it was a face plant.
Yeah, so in a bold strategy that can only be described as brilliantly stupid, a South Carolina man accused of stealing packages showed up to court in the same distinctive hoodie that he wore during the theft caught on Ring camera footage.
I'm innocent, yo.
I mean, I guess it's a t-shirt, not a hoodie, but still. When your outfit says guilty, maybe change before facing a judge, but not this dumbass. He walked into court proudly dressed in the same getup that made him famous on Ring camera. The courtroom didn't even need to play the footage. His wardrobe did the talking. So my take, nothing says innocent like a literal repeat performance in Criminal Contour. maybe it's less about guilt and more about brand consistency. If nothing else, he's ready for the mugshot Met Gala.
Yes.
With his theme, Mistakes Were Made.
Mistake.
And so here you can see, here's the dumbass stealing shit.
Yep.
And you can see him in court exactly where he's dressed exactly the same.
Did he go to court on the same day, or does he just never change?
No, he didn't. No, not on the same day. I don't know. I don't know if he just never changes. I don't know if it's just bad. I don't know.
What he wears on Tuesdays.
Yeah. So the Ring camera, this posted, it looks like Facebook, a Facebook post, says, beware of this porch pirate. This is around noon today in the Oaks. Notice the empty Amazon package in his hand. It is something he stole off a neighbor's porch and threw the empty package in my trash can. Dumb crook. This is before she knew that the dipshit was going to show up in court dressed just like her Ring camera caught him. She's already calling him a dumb crook. And then stole the package off my porch, all on camera, and stuck it in his backpack with whatever else he had stolen in the neighborhood. He was with a second person also on a bicycle. Police have been notified, and then police definitely did their job. They picked this stupid ass hat up, and then he goes to court dressed the same way.
Oh my.
So do criminals now believe wearing a crime uniform doubles as an insanity defense?
Oh, I still say I'm innocent, yo. It's sold at every Walmart in town.
So, was he hoping the judge would admire his commitment to a character?
Yes.
I think so, too.
Yes. It's the bat signal.
I know. It reminds me, and it's not a funny story because it was actually a murder. And if memory serves me correctly, it was in Arapahoe County, Colorado. But the dumbass left a footprint at the crime, and then they called him in for an interview, and
he was wearing the same shoes.
He wore the same shoes, and then he stepped in a water puddle outside and left his track on the sidewalk, and one of the investigators just happened to see it and was like, holy shit, that's the same shoe that we're looking for. And so, followed him up to the interview room or whatever, and they were like, we're gonna have to take your shoes, dipshit.
Good job, dude. Good job.
Yeah, and that led to his being found guilty or pleading guilty, however it worked out. I don't remember all the details right off the top of my head.
Case closed.
I do remember that.
Time for lunch.
So do you think we can expect a new mugshot ready fashion line called Incarceration Chic?
Yes. I demand it.
I think so too. Yeah. I think criminals should just save the taxpayers a lot of money and just show up in their orange jumpsuits ready to go to jail.
Yeah.
Yep. And now is the time for the weird shit section.
Weird shit.
So, our first weird shit story
Excuse me?
The Oklahoma octopus.
I was doing a little dance until what?
So, legend claims a giant freshwater octopus lives in Oklahoma lakes, primarily Lake Thunderbird, Lake Oologah, and Lake Tenkiller. And it's responsible for multiple unexplained drownings.
So it just lake hops to these lakes?
Or there's a bunch.
Okay. Oh, because you say there has to be more than one.
Damn right there has to be more than one. So, though freshwater octopuses don't exist, allegedly.
Is that octopi?
Would that be octopi? I think it's octopuses. Octopi. I don't know.
Okay, anyway.
Locals whisper about a reddish-brown beast with long tentacles dragging swimmers under. No physical evidence has ever surfaced, but the number of mysterious drownings has fueled speculation. Marine biologists remain skeptical. Urban legend fans, less so. So my take, a massive cephalopod terrorizing Lake Lock, Oklahoma? Sure, why not? Next, we'll discover narwhals in Nevada,
Yes.
sea cucumbers in Kansas, because nothing says plausible like Squidward moving inland and developing a taste for Midwestern swimmers.
I feel left out. What does Wyoming get?
We got Bigfoot.
But we don't get Bigfoot by ourselves. Colorado gets Bigfoot, Montana, Utah.
So we got to invent our own bullshit.
And it's
critter.
not the jackrabbit either. Kind of sick of that one too.
Huh.
Or jackalope.
It's jackalope. We do have plenty of jackrabbits.
That's what I meant, jackalope.
So, did someone confuse drowning stats with the Little Mermaid fan fiction?
Oh. Possibly.
So, is that the Kraken's redneck cousin?
Yes.
Where does this
Throw it a beer. Anyway,
Where does this shit come from?
interesting minds, drugs, meth.
I mean,
No.
from what I understand, this is like a
Good picture.
It's like a long-standing legend. I mean,
Like for how long? How far back does it go?
I don't know. I didn't trace the roots of it, but
Damn it,
a long
John.
time. Like it's a legend. So we're talking generations.
Yeah. How long does it have to be labeled a legend?
I don't think there's a definitive length of time, but I don't know. It's weird. There's some swimming holes that, I don't know. Were you telling me this or somebody else telling me this? Like if you're a Native American and you swim in this swimming hole, you drowned. But if you're a white guy,
There's one in Utah.
yeah,
There's a story behind that about it.
yeah, there's that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I
So-
will take you there one.
I mean, is it just like several people drowned and then they come up with this thing? Is it something that came as an allegory to prevent children from swimming without
Probably.
somebody there to watch them? And so they said you can't swim because there's an
octopus.
octopus in there? Where does this shit come from?
I think wives' tales like that. And then the cryptid community gets involved and makes it 10,000 times bigger. And
So, as a cryptid enthusiast, I have to ask, like, when this shit comes up, like, do cryptid people just not be like, okay, yeah, well, that one doesn't make any sense? I mean, is it just believe whatever?
I refuse to speak for all cryptid people
Come on.
because
I'm the president of the fan.
I am not. I'm also a customer. No. There are a lot of cryptids that I want to be true. This information is not new.
No, not at all.
But there are some that do show up that I'm like, what?
Like the 700 or what was it? No, I don't know. The freaking 1.5 mile long snake in the Amazon.
No, I
we
want
covered.
that one to be true.
Yeah, but you've got to look at that video and be like, yeah, this is bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I did. But I want it to be true. I don't want this one to be true. I feel like, how did it get there? How is it surviving? I'm going to say octopi. Aren't they saltwater creatures?
Yeah.
Are these saltwater lakes?
No.
Then,
No, these would have to be freshwater octopus.
yeah. And how would it have...
It's probably octopus. It's probably like deer.
That's true, but I do know somebody who will argue with you, and she says deers.
She's wrong.
I know, and we've told her that, and she refuses to believe it.
And elk
I know. That's the exact thing we said to her.
and sheep.
Mm-hmm.
So why do some animals get plurals and others don't?
I do not know. I do not know.
And why is a goose a goose? More than one goose is geese.
But a whole bunch of them's a gander.
And a whole bunch is a gander, but why is a moose
Not
a
a
moose and not meese?
I don't know.
The English language is a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of shit that don't make sense. Ratio and patio. Explain that one.
Exactly. We will be here all night long.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get us off the
Somebody send
octopus.
reinforcements. We'll be here all night.
But yeah, I mean, I had to ask the question. I think it is a question worth asking. But I'm gonna say octopus. Octopus.
Oh, that's still the question? I thought you were going back to the other
A herd of octopus?
A herd of octopus.
Are they a flock or is it a herd?
Is it a school since it's water?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Is it a school?
Dear marine biologists, please fix this question for us. Because I need to know now.
Yeah. I'm very curious.
What is a group of octopus called?
And we await your answer.
We will.
In the
In
meantime,
the meantime.
we're gonna
No, we're going to wait right now.
we're gonna move on to the Belmez faces in Spain
Nice.
from 1971 to 2004.
That's a big thing.
So spooky faces kept appearing in the concrete floor of a Spanish kitchen, sometimes changing expression or location. Science couldn't explain it. The family, for some reason, didn't move, and I don't understand why. So the description is in Belmez de la Moraleda. I do not speak Spanish. A woman claimed faces formed in her kitchen floor with no known cause. Scientists ruled out fraud and chemicals. Paranormal investigators moved in, and the town leaned into the haunted fame. Faces came, went, morphed, perhaps bored of being stuck in one place. My take? Imagine waking up every morning to a haunted Picasso in your linoleum. These weren't just faces. They were moody faces, like if your floor had opinions. And at what point do you stop mopping and just hand the floor a therapy dog?
I saw you eat that whole cake last night.
So, were the faces just ghosts sick of being ignored by the ceiling?
Take a short intermission while I catch my breath. Yes.
You think?
No. I don't. It's that. Well, I mean, we saw the pictures too. But what is that thing where you see faces? It's a human condition.
Yeah, I know what you're referring to.
The pictures, especially that top left one.
Well, and the top right one, if you look in the lower right-hand corner of the top right picture, that's a pretty clear face.
Oh, okay, I see it now. The other ones are a little like when they find Jesus in their toast.
Yes.
But those two, that's a little.
Even I'm really the whole top row, and the middle one on the bottom is pretty convincing
The
too.
middle and the bottom to me looks like it was from a crime scene of something burnt.
Yeah. So, should Home Depot offer spirit-resistant cement or tile?
Yes. Shellac that. Get them out of there.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this?
I want a refund is my thoughts on this.
I mean, is it real? Is it imagination?
I think it looks like people painting with water on cement.
But scientists weren't able to explain it.
Well, I better.
And they moved. I don't know. It's a freaking weird one, man. It's a weird one.
Oh no.
The fact that
It was all in the same house.
Yes.
All 6 of those were in the same house.
Yes. But over the course of
All those years.
from 1971 to 2004.
Well, the artist obviously got better because the first few were.
Well, they're not chronological.
Oh,
I mean,
burst my bubble. I don't.
who knows, how many of these faces appeared over that length of time. If you look this up on the internet, there's all kinds of pictures.
The top one kind of looks like Dave Navarro.
Kinda, I see.
That's Dave Navarro in their house.
So, and then what happens if you cover them with a rug? Do they just sigh loudly?
Yes.
I've never heard of I've never heard of a haunted floor before. So this was a new one.
That is very new.
I've heard haunted houses and
nothing happened. I know you don't research it, but I think I did.
No, nothing like haunting type stuff in the house. It was just this. This is it.
Just finding pictures on the
faces
on the. That's
it.
I don't know how I feel about that. Where was this again?
Spain. Don't ask me to tell you the town because it's Belmez de la Moraleda. I'm sure there's like a really pretty way to say that because Spanish, when you know how to speak it, like sounds really cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's a beautiful language. Unfortunately, I don't speak it, so I sound like an idiot when I try to say this stuff. But yeah. So I don't know on this one. It's strange.
That one is strange. That one is definitely weird shit.
I told you, it's the weird shit section, so it should fit. All right, so now we've got the Greenbrier Ghost, 1897, West Virginia. This one's odd as hell. So a woman's ghost allegedly solved her own murder by visiting her mother and revealing how she was killed. The killer was convicted based partially on that ghost testimony. So Zana Hester Shue was found dead and quickly buried. Her mother later claimed Zana appeared to her in dreams, insisting that she was murdered by her husband. The body was exhumed, bruises found, and the husband convicted. The case remains the only U.S. trial to accept ghost testimony. My take? Finally, justice for the afterlife. Move over, Law and Order. We're taking paranormal CSI. Apparently, being dead wasn't enough to silence Zona. This case proves ghosts have better work ethic than half the living population. She died, was buried, and still made time for jury prep. So, is this some kind of secret code, some elaborate prank? What are we talking about here?
You know, I feel like I've heard this story and a lot of people believe it. And they do say that your spirit guides talk to you in your dreams, or your ancestors will talk to you in your dreams. So
Isn't that the right question?
I'm not going to say it's too far-fetched.
Yeah, I mean, as you well know, I do believe in the afterlife. And so I think that it is completely possible. And like, this is one of the things that I've said for years and years is, so if somebody dies, because they say this is what causes hauntings, somebody dies and there's unfinished business or whatever. And I've always said, well, why don't they finish their freaking business if that's what's going on? And this is a case of finishing their business. So I can see, like, if you died under in whatever circumstances were, and you were, you know, murdered, and for whatever reason, you felt like before you could move on to whatever awaits us, you had to deal with this, your piece of shit husband killing you, I could accept that. It makes a whole lot more sense than like rattling chains around in some old house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely does, yeah.
And so, I mean, is this something that we would ever see in court today? Do you think ghost testimony would ever be allowed?
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think
We don't rule anything out anymore.
I think what really drives this one is the fact that the ghost information led to forensic information. Granted, it was 1897 forensics, but it was enough to convict the guy. So I don't think that necessarily it was like the ghost said he did it, and that's why we're gonna.
Yeah.
But the ghost led to evidence that backed it up.
Yeah.
And so one has to wonder. I mean, but. Strange shit has happened, right? Where like psychics or whatever have actually occasionally been right and led people to the right spot
the
or
whole
whatever.
series The Dead Files was based on that.
I never watched it. It's not my thing at all.
That I loved that.
I mean, I have a real struggle with psychics and true crime. I think that they do a lot of harm. I think that they really hurt family members a lot of the time.
Some of them are out there to do it on purpose.
Yeah. I think there's a large percentage of them that are doing it for the money.
Yeah.
And I
tend to believe more if they don't want money.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. Have you ever seen the Monk episode with the psychic?
Mm.
No. Well, Monk doesn't believe in them either. I'm not saying that I don't believe in psychics. I don't believe in 95% of psychics. I
think Tyler Henry's got something going though.
I don't know who that is.
He's pretty good. I don't know. I get blown away watching him.
I just don't know who that is, but I do know that if psychics' claims actually matched reality, we would have no show and we would have no cops because, I mean, it would be like the Minority Report. The cops would just show up to arrest you. They wouldn't actually have to investigate or anything. And that is just not the case. Every once in a great while, you hear about a psychic that's actually provided true and accurate information that actually led to an arrest or something. But 95% of the time, they say a bunch of shit that could be true. Like, oh, I'm buried in a very remote place and I can see a tree. Okay, well, thanks, because you just described like 90% of the United States.
Anywhere but right there.
And so, I don't know. I struggle, obviously.
Water.
Yeah. And that's the kind of shit that you usually get is I'm near the water or I can see water from here or, you know, and it's like, okay, well, thanks for narrowing it down to since, you know, like 80% of the earth is covered in water. You're a real help. Helpy Helperton. Yeah, I don't know exactly how we got from ghosts to psychics, but
I don't know.
This one intrigues me.
Were weird.
This one is intriguing to me, and the fact that it was allowed in a courtroom, I found that really intriguing.
You're gonna deep dive into it, aren't you? A little bit.
Probably gonna have to, because it definitely meets the true crime aspect of my brain. So
it really does. That's in the miscellaneous section of your.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So next we have the Montbrely Jourdain incident in France in 1901. So, 2 English women visiting Versailles claimed that they slipped through time and saw Marie Antoinette and her court, then slipped back. The incident is considered a classic time slip case. So Charlotte Montbrely and Eleanor Jourdain, both academics, later wrote about walking Versailles and suddenly noticing eerie silence, odd people in 18th century clothes, and a woman sketching, whom they believed was Marie Antoinette. Critics call it hysteria or misinterpretation. Others say it was a literal time loop. My take? This is what happens when your vacation slides into historical cosplay territory. 1 minute you're on a garden tour, the next you're sipping spectral tea with powdered wigs. It's less time travel and more ghosting with style.
I like it.
So, did Versailles just glitch like an old version of The Sims?
I don't know. There are said to be wormholes everywhere. You've even said you believe in some of it.
I believe in the concept, the possibility of wormholes. Yes.
So that's how I'm going to answer this is the possibility of a wormhole was there. I want to know how Marie looked. Did she?
I just don't buy this. Not for a second.
Not from 2 academics?
I don't give a shit.
Come on.
I would take the word of a plumber or an electrician over most academics. But I mean, so here's here's my struggle with this particular story is I do believe in the concept of wormholes and creating a ripple, being the theoretical possibility of creating a ripple in the fabric of time that you could pass through a wormhole to arrive at an earlier date in time, right? But I don't believe that it would just accidentally exist and you would just happen through it and then happen back out of it. I mean, this sounds more like a bad acid trip to me than time travel. I'm serious. Have you read 11/22/63?
No.
So Stephen King wrote the book 11/22/63. It's about a guy that discovers a wormhole in the pantry of his diner, which is like one of those old Airstream trailer things, and he makes a diner in it, and they always say that he's selling like mouse meat or rat meat or something like that because these hamburgers are so cheap. Well, come to find out, they're so cheap because he's buying them in like 1952 because he's discovered this wormhole and he can walk down, go to this place in 1952, buy his hamburger for whatever, a nickel for, probably 3 pounds for a nickel or whatever. So he can sell really cheap hamburgers. Long old story, convinces this guy to go back, stop the JFK assassination. But this wormhole takes you always back to the same place in time, which is in like 1950. So the guy has to go back and he has to live until 1963 when the assassination occurs to stop it. And he hits a few snags along the way, so he has to do it more than once. So he ends up aging considerably in a very short period of time. But I say that because I think that is a more realistic thought process behind the whole wormhole thing, right? And then once they come out on the other side in this book, then they have to go back to the exact same place and go back up the stairs through the wormhole to get back to present day. And I mean, that would be conceivable, at least to me. This idea that you could walk down a street, enter a wormhole, walk through it and out the other side and come out in exactly the same date and time that you entered, it doesn't logically fit with the whole theory of the space-time continuum and wormholes. Like, if you walked through the wormhole, you would be in the time of
turning around and walk back out.
Exactly. And you wouldn't just like walk into it and then be like, oh my gosh, all these people are, and then just keep on walking.
That is painting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you'd have to turn around and walk back out of it. I would think.
Right. So I don't know. So were these women confused or chronologically gifted?
I'm falling back into what you said a minute ago and possibly high.
I am not so sure that wouldn't be a viable option. I mean, what if somebody slipped them something?
Yeah.
Or what if they had so the theory was that like absinthe was poured over or had wormwood in as one of the ingredients, and it was supposed to be hallucinogenic. Turns out it wasn't all that hallucinogenic, but what if it was something like that? What if something got in their tea? What if, because they both experienced it, but two people can have a similar trip on acid if they're like, you seeing what I'm seeing?
Yeah,
and they like are talking with each other, then
or I struggle with how to begin this. Food stuff, the rye weirdness, any of that. This
like the ergot poisoning is kind of what you're getting at.
Yeah.
I mean, something in their food it obviously had an hallucinogenic effect, whatever it was.
Could have been not, I don't want to say harmless, but not malicious. Like it could have been
accidental.
Yeah. Or it could have been somebody was trying to poison them and this is what happened. Who knows? Yeah,
I mean, who knows? They could have just come in contact with something accidentally. I mean, I don't know. So this happened, when did this happen?
Looks like a long
1901. So I don't know like the history of LSD. I don't think LSD was around in 1901, but it could have been something similar to that.
Yeah.
Because LSD can be absorbed through the skin as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be ingested. So, it could have been something, an hallucinogenic in some type of liquid form or mushrooms.
Are they tipping back the laudanum too much? Maybe?
Possibly. I just don't see this as a viable time travel story for the reasons I went off on, but it's interesting.
That one picture looked like that lady was about to jump out and beat us to death, though.
Yeah, she doesn't look very friendly, huh?
Nuh-uh.
No, not so much. Okay, so the phantom social workers. This was in the UK in the 1980s and 90s. So multiple UK families reported mysterious people posing as social workers trying to abduct children. None were ever identified or caught. So in a wave of eerie visits, men and women claiming to be child welfare agents entered homes or attempted to, often with fake IDs and strange behavior. Despite investigations, there were no arrests and no evidence of any actual agency involvement. Urban legend or organized criminal ring? So my take? Yes, the 1980s, where strangers with clipboards could just knock and say, "We're from the government," and people would believe it. These faux do-gooders had more red flags than a bullfighting convention. Who were they? Failed improv actors? Creepy volunteers? The answer was and remains absolutely no one. So, if your social worker can't spell the word child, maybe don't let them in.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I don't know. This isn't funny. I didn't see where they'd actually absconded with any children. But
were they sacking the place for robberies later, maybe?
Or did they take children? That's the scary part. Because, I mean, we all know that there's people now that if somebody shows up and says, "We're from the Department of Family Services," or whatever the agency's called, and they take your children, some people aren't going to court and fighting like hell to get them back. Some are just like, "Well, my kids got taken. Now, where's my next hit? Where's my..."
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's sad to say, but it's a very routine thing.
Some of them are so gone, they don't even know their kids are taken.
Right. And so it's scary to think that they potentially got away with children.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. You've seen Criminal Minds?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the Criminal Minds episode where the dude is like a social worker and he's driving around asking homeless people if they need help, and Morgan and them are out on the street and he's like, "Do your social workers drive around and ask for help?" And the cop was like, "No, they got to be called just like anybody else." And so Morgan runs over there and jumps in the window and makes the guy crash his car. And
no,
but that's what this story made me think of, is that particular episode. But it's actually a very real and scary concept, is, somebody posing as like a social worker or something without some kind of credentials that you can verify.
Exactly.
I mean, it's no different than somebody posing as like a law enforcement officer or something too, but you hear all the time, and especially with like cell phones, you hear all the time, if you're being pulled over and you don't feel safe, slow down to the side of the road, turn your hazards on, and call 911 and ask if a cop is actually pulling you over.
Yeah.
There's steps that you could take in that instance. Or same thing, they say, turn on your hazards, drive slowly on the side of the road, and drive to a public location where you feel safe.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. What if somebody shows up at your door and says, "We've had a report and we're taking your kids"? I mean, for me, I pull the gun at that point.
Yeah.
Say, you ain't taking my kids
Yeah.
without a court order.
Yeah.
Like, there's no question about this.
You show up.
I go before a judge and the judge orders me in a courtroom where I know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
You don't just show up.
And I trust what's going on.
And I don't think I've ever heard of this happening here. Now, in the UK, I don't know. But here, social workers don't just show up and say, we're taking your kids. There's always law enforcement involved in the process.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the cops will be there and will arrest you if you try to interfere. So it's not just somebody that looks like these asshats. But I don't know if that was the case in the UK. And I don't know what the case was in the United States in the 80s. I really don't.
Yeah.
Or before. I don't know. I know how it is now, but that's one area that I've never really even considered looking into is how did like social workers in these kind of outfits operate
Changed, yeah.
in the 70s and 80s? I don't have an answer to that, but from all the reading that I did, or I should say not all the reading, I should say from the limited bit of reading I did on this, it sounded like, I mean, there were multiple descriptions. I just happened to grab these two buffoons, but it's almost like it was a group of people.
Like a cult?
Cult, or maybe like a child trafficking ring or something. I don't know.
That's creepy. I don't know.
And you know, there's, I mean, like selling babies is as sick as it sounds is actually a thing where babies can be bought and sold on the black market. And so is it something like that? I don't know.
Makes me wonder. Definitely makes me wonder.
I mean, it sounds to me like there was multiple reports and the police literally did composite sketches and sent out stuff and tried to identify. So it doesn't sound like this is like wacky type of made up shit. It sounds like there was a group of people through the 80s in the UK that were at least attempting to kidnap children.
I'm feeling cult. It's feeling very culty to me.
It feels a little cultish, I guess. I can understand. It's a bizarre one. I know that. But it fits well with the weird shit because it's a weird one.
It's weird.
So, yeah, I don't know. But that's all I've got for tonight.
And those go by so fast.
Yeah, this one I didn't write quite as much on this one, so it went by a little bit faster. I'll have to write more for future episodes. I was a little under the gun on this one.
Yeah.
But that's all. That's all I have for you. So, you know, we encourage you to like and follow this episode and our other shows. Share them. Follow us on social media. We encourage you to get involved with the conversation and reach out to us. You can find us at www.darkdialogue.com. Questions, kudos, or critiques, or whatever you got for us can go to info@darkdialogue.com. And until next time, this is John.
And Angela.
Have a great night.
Good night, everybody.